we go forward with the trial on Wednesday. I need you in your trial clothes, okay? Dress for trial on Wednesday. We're going to have jurors here Wednesday. As to count 1, tampering with a witness in a capital felony, and count 7, unlawful use of a two-way communication device, how are you going to plead, sir? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Could YNW Bortlen really get shanked in prison? That's the wild question shaking the internet right now, and it all blew up the moment he took that plea deal in the YNW Melly case. The second he stood in that courtroom and admitted to accessory after the fact, the streets didn't even wait for paperwork. They stamped him with one heavy word: snitch. And inside any prison, once that label gets attached to you, it sticks like glue and paints a bright target on your back every single day. Bortlen might have saved himself from a life sentence on paper, but inside those walls, that move could cost him everything.
Accept your no contest pleas as to each. I'm going to find a factual basis to support each based upon my review of each electronic probable cause affidavit, as well as your stipulation in court here today. I'm going to further find that you have freely, voluntarily, and intelligently waived your rights, that you have knowingly entered each plea with the advice of competent counsel, who you've told me that you are satisfied with, that you understand the nature of the charges and the consequences of the plea.
Word is floating around that he already got pressed in his cell, caught off guard by people who didn't care whether his deal technically didn't include testifying. To them, a plea automatically means you opened your mouth. And once people inside believe you're a rat, there ain't no clean way to shake that off. But things get even heavier.
One day, someone's gonna walk into that prison and say that motherfucker there's a rat and show paperwork. Now, whoever's your friends, whoever you break bread with, whatever organization, race, color, creed, religion that he rides with, it's mandatory, one, that they get him removed from that cell block, put in PC. And if he's part of an organization or represents a certain religion or standards of a certain way of life that he represents, the people that live that way of life also will stab him, beat him half to death, extort him, and make his life a living hell. The rules in prison, as barbaric as it sounds, if you find out your bunky's a snitch, if you find out anybody's a snitch and you let them live peacefully, then your ass is gonna get dealt with.
While whispers about Bortlen getting touched started spreading, the rumors took a darker turn, pulling Melly right back into the center of the storm. Allegedly, Melly's been moved into isolation, and nobody can agree on the reason. Some say it's for his safety. Others think it's because he's moving with a different kind of energy and wants answers from everybody involved in the case. Because here's the truth.
At the end of the day, the rules of the jungle is the rules of the jungle. You know, when you call somebody certain things, every action gets a reaction. And this particular individual, everybody knew dude was a rider. You know, they knew he was about that life. You know, you can't call a dude a snitch in his face and expect him not to respond. Now, I think Nipsey might have been upset about something else, because it really don't seem like him just to do that, but he did that. And it's no shock. It's like everybody's like, oh, what happened? You know what happened a million times. Dude called him a snitch. He came back, he guilty.
If Bortlen's statement ends up being used in court, Melly knows his chances of beating this case drop from slim to almost gone. That means this whole situation isn't just some legal drama anymore. It's about survival. One man marked in the yard, another locked away, both circling around the same murders from 2018. And now everything could end with real blood spilled behind those walls. Here's where everything flipped on its head.
Wood to the duck. Smoke the wood to the duck, you know? It can happen to you. You could die. Whatever can happen, like, you know, anyway, you know, like, it could just happen, like, you know, we dangerous, like, we pull up on you and shit, like, you know, like your taco. I'm on house arrest, but this can happen, like, it can happen, like, whenever, wherever.
On August 2nd, YNW Bortlen walked into that courtroom with 2 first-degree murder charges sitting on his shoulders like concrete blocks. If he pushed this to trial, he was staring dead at life without parole. No sunlight, no second chance, nothing. So he did what plenty of people in his position end up doing. He cut a deal. Instead of gambling with a jury that probably already made up their minds, he pled no contest to smaller charges that sounded way lighter on paper.
And tonight, disturbing surveillance video showing the murder of South Florida rapper XXX Tentacion and the moments leading up to it.
The 20-year-old was killed back in June, and 4 men have since been indicted.
Witness tampering, accessory after the fact, and using a communication device. That combination chopped his sentence down to 10 years, followed by 6 years of probation. And since he already sat behind bars for 6 years, this move means he could actually walk out before he even hits his mid-40s. But here's the moment that changed his whole future. When Bortlen stood in front of that judge, took that deal, and watched his time drop, he also picked up a brand new label that will follow him everywhere inside those walls. On paper, it looks like a win, but the moment the judge signed off, the streets twisted it into something completely different. Fans jumped on socials saying, "I wouldn't blame him if he takes this deal."
Later happened is they realized a few things. When they asked where were y'all originating from, it became obvious, talking to multiple people and him, they came from a studio. They got the surveillance footage of the studio. 4 people entered like a SUV, but only 3 individuals showed up to the hospital. Where's the 4th? The 4th is Melly. They asked him about Melly. He was very, we dropped him off. Where? Somebody just picked him up. He was very vague. At some point, Melly had gotten out of the car.
While others wrote he didn't have anything on those boys, and that it was all assumptions. Even though his lawyer kept saying with full confidence that this wasn't an admission of guilt, people outside don't process it the same way. And inside prison, perception is everything. And that's where the danger creeps in. Because in prison, that target on his back ain't a metaphor. Once your name gets tied to snitching, you're basically walking around sending a silent invitation to anybody looking to make a statement.
It's given me the chance to clear up a lot of the confusion and just chaos that's happening online right now. It's clear that a lot of people just don't understand what has happened. In all, he was facing 5 mandatory life sentences if found guilty, plus an additional 75 years on top of that. The facts of his plea are that he has pled no contest. That's very important because that means he has not admitted guilt. He's not admitted that he's done anything wrong. And he's certainly not admitted or given information about anybody else. He's been found guilty, and in exchange, the state has dismissed the murder counts, the conspiracy to tamper with a witness count, and the charge about directing the activities of a criminal gang. He's going to be sentenced to 10 years in Florida State Prison, followed by 6 years of probation with credit for time that he has served.
And you can see exactly how fast that label spread online. Here's a fan pointed out that Bortlen's own lawyer admitted he'll still have to answer questions in court. And once people hear that, they don't care about legal definitions. They just see someone who talked, and that's enough to make things deadly real. And here's the part people keep ignoring. Prison politics are locked in with street politics like 2 sides of the same coin. The same crews, the same alliances, the same long-running beefs that run the outside world. Run the inside too. If the streets decide you folded on Melly, the people inside those walls will treat that like law. No debate, no second chances. That label doesn't stay online. It follows you everywhere you walk inside that facility. Every pod, every yard, every time your name gets whispered.
At a nigga and bust his ass. That's his soul in that. Like, it's death in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? All I gotta do is up this motherfucker in your ass. Just you disappear, bitch. Real shit, bro. I like how them bitches look. For real, I'm in love with them bitches.
Here's a former inmate breaking down exactly what goes down when someone hits the compound with a snitch tag attached to their name. No matter how loud a lawyer denies it, the inmates judge off reputation, not paperwork. So while Bortlen might be thinking, I'll be out in my 40s, the reality is way darker because if this reputation spreads inside the same way it already did online, he might not even make it to that release date. That's how serious it gets once your name is stained. And if you think this is exaggeration, let us talk history. Because rappers connected to any kind of snitch rumors have faced outcomes that were deadly, and too many never made it out alive. Look at Nipsey Hussle, for example.
I was eating a pickle in his refrigerator. When I turned around, all I heard was, "Who pickled them is?" Then I was like, "Oh shit, that's Kanye, what the fuck?" Then he was like, "Hell yeah, how long the pickles been in there?" I was like, "I don't know." I smashed that bitch. Then he came and he was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna touch those."
In 2019, He was standing outside his Marathon clothing store in LA when Eric Holder Jr. pulled up. Prosecutors said Nipsey had just spoken to him about rumors that paperwork was floating around on him, basically addressing talk that sounded like possible snitching. Minutes later, Nipsey was gone. And during Holder's trial, that conversation was highlighted as a direct trigger that sparked the whole situation. That is how fast that label can turn fatal. Here is WAC 100 breaking down exactly how that quick conversation between Nipsey and Holder went from words to a deadly moment within minutes. Then you've got FBG Duck from Chicago. Drill culture is already ruthless, but once snitching rumors enter the chat, everything gets 10 times more dangerous. Street stories have always tied his beefs and his 2020 murder to the same cycle of betrayal, whispers about paperwork, and non-stop retaliation. Here is a clip showing how deep those politics go. Muwop basically putting himself in the same case tied to the FBG Duck situation, showing how tangled and chaotic these street dynamics get. And even with XXXTentacion, who was murdered in 2018 during what looked like a robbery, the snitching paranoia still came back up later, because once that fear gets inside street culture, it sticks to everything and everybody.
Then we play mixed personalities, and he goes crazy. He's like, bruh, this is me, this is Ye, this is Kanye, this is Yeezy, this is me. And he's like, I'm like, damn. So me and Melly looking at each other like, damn, he fucking it. He like, bruh, I want to jump on this.
This is me, this
right.
is Yeezy.
He said, I want to jump on this. But then after I told him no, he was like, damn, why? I was like, because we about to drop it, we in the process. He's like, bruh, whatever I got to do, I'll get it done, like to be on the record, like, because this is really me, like I'm feeling a connection to it.
One of the men indicted in the same situation admitted straight up that he was terrified of being labeled a snitch once he hit prison. That fear alone tells you how deep this culture runs and how fast that label can ruin somebody's whole future. Nobody wants that tag following them around because once it sticks, your life inside becomes a countdown. Now here's where the fallout gets even uglier. Because if Bortlen thought he was only protecting himself, the truth is way harsher. His deal might be the final blow to Melly's entire defense. Melly's whole legal strategy was built on denial.
I murdered a and I murdered a bee. I am not no human murderer.
His lawyers kept repeating that he wasn't there, he didn't fire anything, and nothing could tie him directly to the murders. But the moment Bortlen signed that plea, everything cracked open like thin glass. Why? Because a plea deal almost always comes with hidden strings. Even if Bortlen didn't officially snitch, the state gains power once you accept a deal. They can pull him for sworn statements, they can drag him into testimony, and they can twist whatever he cooperates with into a narrative that destroys Melly's version of the story. And if that happens, Melly's chances go from slim to basically non-existent. Even DJ Academics broke the whole situation down himself, pointing out how a plea changes the courtroom energy instantly. But while Bortlen's name is getting roasted online, the real storm is happening around Melly behind the walls. Guards didn't waste a single second leaving him in general population. They pulled him straight into isolation. On paper, it might look like protection since he's high profile, and anything connected to him could spark drama on the inside. But people close to the case are whispering something way different. They were saying Melly wasn't a move to keep him safe. He was moved because he's on edge and ready to snap. And honestly, it lines up with everything happening. His defense was already hanging by a thread, and the second Bortlen cut that deal. The whole case flipped upside down. If prosecutors decide to pull Bortlen in for statements, that's all they need to tear Melly's "I wasn't there" defense straight apart. And once that happens, Melly isn't just looking at more time, he's staring down life without parole. That's why people believe isolation wasn't about shielding him from others. It was about preventing him from making a move himself. Now here's the part that slid under the radar. Something most people didn't even catch at first glance. While everybody online was busy calling Bortlen a snitch, they missed the real twist. That plea deal wasn't just about cutting years off his sentence. It came with heavy strings attached. As part of the agreement, he's required to sit down for what's called a proffer. In simple street terms, that's a sworn sit-down, where you're locked in a room with prosecutors, laying out your version of what went down. No running, no backtracking, no half-stepping. Once he signs that paperwork, whatever he tells them gets locked in forever. His lawyer tried to dress it up, saying it was a no-contest plea, not an admission of guilt, and claiming he doesn't have to testify against Melly. But let's keep it real. A sworn statement is still a weapon, no matter how you try to sugarcoat it. Bortlen's own lawyer even tried spinning it, explaining why people shouldn't call it snitching. But the streets don't move off explanations. They move off perception. And here is what people don't get. Even if Bortlen never steps foot on the witness stand, the state can hold that proffer up in court like a trophy. They don't need him pointing fingers face to face. They just need his words on paper. A statement signed under oath hits just as hard in front of a jury as somebody testifying live. And that alone is enough to tear Melly's whole denial strategy apart. Because like I broke down earlier, Melly's entire defense was built around him saying, "I wasn't there. The state can't prove anything." But now, with Bortlen's proffer sitting in the prosecutor's folder, they don't need him to confess, and they don't need him to break down on the stand. All they need is that sworn story. And once they wave that around in court, Melly's whole defense stops looking airtight and starts looking shaky. They already got something they can twist into proof. And that's why people are saying Bortlen didn't just save himself. He basically walked Melly straight into a life sentence. Once that proffer hits the courtroom, it's not only the state labeling him guilty, the streets will see it the same way. And to them, that's confirmation he folded, no matter how his lawyer tries to spin it or how complicated the deal really was. So, while Melly's sitting in isolation fighting for his life, the circle he thought would stand solid around him isn't moving the way he probably imagined. That whole brothers for life image is starting to look shaky, turning into every man trying to protect his own future. And with Bortlen's plea locked in, and that sworn proffer hanging over him like a shadow, Melly's whole reality just flipped upside down. Because now the courtroom isn't the only place he has boxed in. It has the prison walls closing in too. The legal pressure, the street politics, the prison politics, the rumors, the isolation, everything is squeezing him from every angle. And if even half of these whispers floating around are real, this story isn't ending with paperwork or statements. It's heading towards something way darker, something people behind those walls understand too well. A situation where loyalty, betrayal, survival, and pressure collide. And if things keep spiraling the way they are, this won't end with a verdict. It'll end in blood. And everyone watching from the outside will realize this case was never just about the murders from 2018. It was about two men trapped in a chain reaction that neither one of them could stop.
Sometime I'll be home soon, it won't be long, I promise I will be okay.
You know I love it when I'm next to you. Riding through the 772.
I ain't get to roll no weed, I ain't get to roll no switches. I was locked up on Christmas, I ain't get to see my niggas.